Again everybody, and welcome to the English Teacher's Guide to creating a perfect A-star review for your GCSE language paper. Okay, before we begin, let's quickly look at what the Welsh Board specification is. Now what I'm going to show you today will work perfectly with any of the exam papers, but for the Welsh Board it's 20% of the language grade. It's 2 tasks over 1 hour, which means half an hour each. You're going to be asked to answer for different purposes and audiences. You need to complete 2 tasks, like I said. So one could be a letter, an article, a leaflet, a review, which we're looking at today, a report, and speech and talk. Okay, let's see if you can listen to your teachers for the last year or two. First of all, what do you need to include in a review in regards to the mark scheme in order to achieve A-star, perfect marks? This will differ depending on your exam board. It's 20 out of 20 for the Welsh Board. And secondly, what method do you need to use in order to write a review? How do you write a review? Pause this quickly, note down your answers. Okay, so the key elements for any of the language papers are as follows. You do these things, really is as simple as doing this in the right way, you get A-star. Always plan the contents, very, very important. If you don't plan, you have to stop halfway through because you're not sure what you need to write. It helps maintain the fluency of your writing. It gives you more confidence as well that you know what you're doing. Make sure your piece matches the purpose. Is this to persuade, advise? You need to make it clear to the mark that you're fulfilling that. Secondly, make sure that your piece matches the genre. It needs to look like the piece. Now let me make it clear, if you're doing a leaflet, that doesn't mean you have to fold your exam paper into sections. It doesn't mean if you're writing an article that you should use columns, but if you're writing a report, it should still have headers. If you're writing a letter, it should still look like a letter. If it's a review, it should still have a rating system, that sort of thing. Use a variety of sentence types. Use those sentence types with different effects. So go back to your creative writing pieces, your narrative or descriptive pieces, to remind you of how you need to do that. Different sentence starters rather than then, also. Make them interesting as well. Need to use complex punctuation, semicolons, brackets, etc. Make sure you're using those for effect. Go back to your descriptive writing once more. Consider the formality of your piece. Is this formal or informal? That will influence how you write this. Different paragraph lengths. Spell complex words correctly. Don't forget to use the simple words as well. In fact, it's better to use the complex words and spell them incorrectly than only use simple words, because you're limiting your overall mark for your spelling if you do that. Make sure your whole structure is effective, nice and cohesive. It works from beginning, middle to end. It all kind of flows nicely. Create an interesting piece. You could be piece number 280 of 300 exam papers. If yours is humdrum, boring, the marker is less likely to pay attention to it and less likely to want to give you good marks. And finally, the most important thing is that to gain A-star, you need to show off your skills. You just show off your writing ability. If you pass a ball to a footballer and you say show off your skills, they're not going to trap a ball. If they do that, you think they're a bad footballer. Same with writing. We're asking you in this exam to show off your writing skills. If you just use simple lexis, which means words, and then simple punctuation, you're not going to look like a good writer. You're not going to get a good grade. A good footballer will be doing round the worlds, we're doing overhead kicks, we're doing hundreds of kick-ups. You need to be doing this with your writing, which is all of those things listed above. Do all those things, proofread the work, you know you're going to get A-star. Okay, review method, really simple. We're very familiar with this, hopefully. We plan our content. We then produce a headline or a title which introduces the piece, and depending on the formality, you might want to use a pun or something like that. An interesting imaginative opening which introduces the item being reviewed and your thoughts on it. You might want to start a little bit indirectly, not necessarily making it clear what this is about. That engages the reader. The main body, obviously, depending on what you're writing about, will explore the item. You're generally looking at the good aspects of it and the aspects which were less effective. The conclusion, you want to summarise your opinion again and now in an interesting way. Provide a rating system, 4 high fives out of 5 or some rubbish like that. It's a good idea to go back to the interesting opening that you used, because that creates whole text structure. Note, the best reviews read a bit like creative writing pieces, similes, metaphors, great kind of vocabulary, all those sort of things. And actually, if you do get the chance, the Guardian newspaper section on reviews for films is really good example. And remember, don't give the plot away, only hint at things, please. Alright, let's look at this question. Write a review of a film, book, album of your choice for your local newspaper. Now this is very much like the questions we've seen in the past. What we need to do is think about with this question, think about with any of the language questions, what the past is. So what's the purpose of this, the audience, how's it going to be structured, what kind of language we're going to use. Again, feel free to pause any section of this talk to help you with your revision. So, purpose is to review. We're looking at reviewing, we'll go over a film this time. Our local newspaper, which suggests that there is a level of formality, but it's not necessarily the most formal piece. So that therefore means that we're going to have text structure, which will be sometimes complex, sometimes simple, and the structure is simply following a review. Now, we'll talk about the planning section. Let's look at what our plan will look like. So, my film is called Corinne's War for the sake of this, and these are the 5 sections I'm going to use. Here's my interesting image. I'm going to start off with my cereal box. I'm going to talk about my soul in my cereal box. That will become clear in a bit. I'll then talk about the plot, growing up, bits that I hate, and the fact that overall my conclusion, I love it, and I'm going to go back to my cereal box idea. I've also here, as part of my planning, listed the different types of punctuation, because as I use them in the piece, I'm just going to cross them off. If I use them again, I'll cross them again. So when I come to looking at the piece at the end, I can see what kind of punctuation I have and haven't used. I've also listed different types of vocabulary that I'm wanting to use. And at the bottom, this is a good idea. Rather than listing all the things I know I have to do to get a star, I've listed some of the things I tend to forget to do when I'm trying to create a star. And for me, that's proofreading and using different sentence starters. Okay, so let's have a look at what my piece will end up looking like. So, Corinne's War, the review, rating 5 out of 5. Recently, I've been waking up with a vacant feeling in the very depths of my soul. At first, I thought it was just the fact that I had yet to consume a bowl of my favourite Chalky Crunch cereal, but that's a secret between me and you. And then I thought it was the fact that I wasn't recycling enough. So, engaging, interesting, it's not necessarily about a review. That makes it different, makes it stand out, rather than I am going to write a review about. Boring, there's your D grade. But actually, so cohesion, it was neither of these things. My epiphany came to me as the last spoonful of my sugary breakfast dribbled down my aged chin. I had to see Corinne's War again, so now I've introduced the film. Not straight away though, which is good, which is creating interest. Dominic Fuller's, I've made up the names of the actors and actresses in this piece and the film. Dominic Fuller's latest motion picture is an instant classic, mixing his exceptional use of ninjas, but this time placing them within a London setting. What's not to like? So, I'm using the review style, putting the content of the film in, but look at the variety of punctuation, lexis, the cohesion, sentence types, so you get the idea. As the title suggests, our hero is the feisty and attractive Corinne Amelia Thornberry, who has the task of gaining revenge on those who killed her family in their sleep for reasons which are initially unknown to us. Just when it seems the screams of the newborn Corinne will go unheard, the protagonist is very luckily discovered in her cot by none other than Tong, Robert Graves, the master sensei who has just happened to be jogging in the local vicinity. What are the chances of that? In a rather touching moment, he gazes into the innocence of the soon-to-be assassin, surrounded by the bodies of a close family, and decides to take her in. As Corinne grows, so does her ability to perform unbelievably impressive feats of martial arts, all under the demanding glare of a grouchy but very likeable new father figure, who relates the lamentable which means sad tale of a family's demise each night as they pray. Predictably, once our hero comes of age, the revenge narrative can begin, and her quest takes her to London, where she comes face to face with the maniacal, which means very evil, villain Aguirres, who murdered her family all those years ago, culminating in a beautifully shot final battle, which left the audience purring like a cat who has just stealthily stolen the cream from under the nose of Grandma Ethel. So there's our vocabulary again. Although the outcome of the film is somewhat easy to spot, that does not make this a bad film. Far from it. The twists and turns will have you questioning whether the outcome is as recognisable as you first thought, particularly around midway into the film, when it seems that the trail runs cold for Corinne and she is left to consider her purpose in life. However, this film isn't without its minor flaws. The wire work in some of the early fight scenes is not up to the same standard we have seen from this visionary director, with some of the opponents looking more likely to be appearing as a circus clown rather than a highly skilled member of the ninja fraternity. Another smaller gripe of mine is the title sequence. I've never really been a Bond fan. How many times can one man win? So I don't watch it. So I didn't really appreciate the Bond-esque sequence which introduced me to the very traditional narrative. Sometimes East should not meet West. Without doubt, this is one of the finest performances from a young British actor for some time. Thornberry is simply fantastic. She fills my very core with an inner glow that I thought only the giraffe on my breakfast box could solve, going back to the initial idea, remember. If you have any sense, you will not go to the cinema and sob as the final credits roll up. You will go again and again because your soul will never feel the same again. Okay. And that's it. So you get the idea. So we need to make sure that our reviews are very interesting, fulfilling all the aspects of the A-star mark scheme, but make it feel like you're showing off your skills, almost if you're writing a creative writing piece. If you do that, you're destined to get A-star for this. So well done, guys. Keep working hard. Have a go yourself. Come back and compare your work to this, and then we'll see how you do. Thank you. Well done.